So what I intend to do is show you the difference between our Mastercam Lathe product and our Mastercam mill turn product. So what you see here on the screen now is Mastercam Lathe. The first difference you'll see is going to be stock setup. So this page in the mill turn module is different. In Lathe, this is optional. In mill turn, it's not. Here in Lathe, if I'm using two spindles, I need to define those two spindles. I need to at least define the left stock in order for this to work properly. Okay. So now let me switch over to mill turn. And it'll be this one here. So in Mastercam mill turn, job setup is the first task to complete. Okay. So in here, machine configuration, I define my left spindle and my right spindle. So I can go in here and I can edit the chuck. So I can edit the diameter of the chuck, thickness, inside diameter, outside diameter. In parameters, I can alter my minimum and maximum spindle speed. Below that, I have my chuck jaws. So this is commonly changed here. So normally the chuck stays the same, the jaws are what changes. Okay. So here, similar to what you already see in Lathe, you define that parametrically. I believe you also have the ability to load a solid model or use chains. This here is the same as it is in Lathe. Okay, so here you have left and right spindle. Our setup type, where are we starting our setup? Where's our initial spindle? Left or right? Straightforward. Stock type and part handling, how are we manipulating the part through operations? I'll have a breakdown and I'll have examples on how these work. But in here, you're telling it if it's bar pulling or if it's just picking off and cutting off, if it's just a pick off, you name it. There's different operations here. You can also create your own up here. Okay. WCS, I recommend always using top. If you use something different, you can go ahead and select the named plane. What you see next to this is our align to Z function, which aligns a round part to be normal to the Z in Lathe world, in Lathe coordinates. Left spindle, here we define our part geometry. So we select our solid model, we create spindle geometry for the right side, right? So we translate that over to the right spindle, and then we create our turn profiles. So we create wireframe geometry for toolpaths. Below that, we have our bar stock. Normally, when you select a solid model, this outside diameter selects a nominal size, right? So you don't have to round to the nearest size. Mastercam would automatically do that. You can alter the diameter if you need to. Above that, this is a number of parts that are going to be machined per bar. This here, I would at least, if you're picking off and cutting off and bar pulling, I would at least recommend putting 5 pieces or put the amount of parts that will come from a bar in your programming project. Inside diameter, if we're working with tubing, and then face stock for your first operation and face stock for your second operation. So before pickoff, after pickoff. Tool plane origin Z. Normally I'm going off the right face. Let me move this out of the way. So as you can see here on my screen, this is where I'm telling it it's my origin. You can go from the left face, which would be the back of the part, or the bottom of the part, or you can manually select a Z origin. So you may be going off a different datum position on a part. You can also manually select your Z origin. Your stick out, pretty straightforward here, right? This is stick out from your chuck. This is stick out from your jaws. You don't have to type it in here. Simply use this icon to select a point on the finished part. If you need to add more distance, remember you can use shift click and use the gnomon to give you more space between the back of the finished part and your jaws. Right spindle, and sometimes this will be optional depending on the way you set up your part handling. It may be that you're only working in a single piece, so this won't always be there. Okay. So same thing with right spindle. Set your Z. Usually it's left face now that I'm on the right spindle. Or again, you have the option to use manual. Our pick off here, I'm telling it where I want it to clamp on the part when it's in the main spindle or in the left spindle. Right? Click here and pretty much select the point. Okay. Again, you can use shift click. Didn't use that right, sorry. Shift click to tell it exactly where you want it. Okay. And then right below that you have your cutoff tool. Okay. So you have, if you don't want to select the tool, you can just type in the width of your cutoff tool, or if you actually want to select your tool, click here. This will open up my tool manager for lathe, and I can select the proper tool. Okay. So before I hit the green check mark, I can see a summary, or what they call it here, it's a quick view settings. So pretty much this is a breakdown of the list up here. So my recommendation or my suggestion to you is work down the list. Okay, fill this in as best as you can. And if you need to make changes, no problem. Just go back in there and select the job setup and make the changes.